Hello guys, my name is Zatu. I'm an average player from Europe who sadly invested almost 3000 hours into Naraka Bladepoint. I usually do the guides and flashy montages. I always was curious about the Naraka launcher performance compared to Steam, which then gave me the idea to create this video, a new player experience video from scratch. Creating an account was relatively easy. Basically just started to spam tab to start, I saw the login screen and basically signed up with a Gmail account. And after that I found myself in the main menu. Head to other functions on top right hand side, click edition upgrade and you get to upgrade your account to a standard edition. It's on discount right now. This one usually costs around $10, however due to anniversary it costs less right now. You get to play rank mode, 300 coins, so you can get 3 different heroes at the start, you can create custom rooms and a DB skin. I bought this in order to bypass the quick match and bot match spams and level my account up to 50. 50 is the level where rank gameplay opens up and I wanted to see how many hours it takes for a new starter to get to rank gameplay. From bronze 5 to silver 5 I've seen only one real person play the game. Most of the lobby was full of bots. I started to follow him around, see what he's doing, try to help him pick up some soul blooms. And at the end of the game I actually wanted to throw the game away, but he didn't let me. He also dropped his own items. Turns out he was a very casual player. He plays 1 or 2 games then quits the game, which kinda makes sense because we don't really have a casual gamer base in this game. After reaching gold 5 my lobby started to look like this. I believe this is due to me being placed in champion fight lobbies and I had a huge KD over time due to farming bots. However, till I reached solar, I started to see more and more real players but not bots. There were occasionally some bots here and there, but it was mostly real players. At some point I started to get unlucky and realized I'm in queue hell, and the game made me wait almost 18 minutes for a single game, which I didn't find and decided to call it a day. Considering my account was also platform, me not being able to land in a game was also a frustrating experience. If I were a new player and started to grind on rank ladders and this thing happened, I would have just alt F4, maybe never look back into the game again because I don't want to wait for games over and over again. And this is considered low elo. It took me around 18 to 19 hours to reach level 50. I followed these weekly missions and season quests to level myself up. If you don't want to buy the edition upgrade and reach level 50, I suggest you guys to head to quests, keep track of daily, weekly and season quests. They give out good experience to level up your account. You can also complete these quests in bot mode, quick match or ranked, even PvE counts, so you can just get in, complete couple of missions, then leave. Overall I found this leveling up to 50 obligation quite frustrating, hard and useless, not seeing any people. And I kinda understand why people called it a dead game on internet over and over again. They jump into a game and immediately find themselves facing bots, bots and bots. It's over and over and over again. There's no fun in it. I believe getting spanked a little bit early at the game might help the new player motivate themselves. I mean, from my perspective, when I first started the game, I believe it was 3 years ago, I got heaven stepped by Paku. I was gold and he was Asura. There was a huge gap between us, but still, that combo aesthetic made me fall in love with the game. That's why I decided to play the game. There was a challenge and I wanted to achieve that challenge, get on top of it. After a couple of years, I decided to stick around for my friends. Right now I usually play customs, sometimes solos, mostly duos and trios right now. I'm just, playing it casually right now. So for the second part of this video, I actually asked a couple of content creators, big streamers, or actually good or seasoned players to give their insights about some questions I asked them, they answer. It's basically an interview. It's a long one. If you like to listen, and if you are new to the game, I would suggest you guys to listen. If you're not, just for the content maybe, up to you really. I hope you guys enjoy it. Stay safe.
I've come across a community that welcomes me with open arms every single time, shows love and shows kindness no matter what I do.
I think the tutorial was just a massive waste of time.
I've seen the game in many stages, from the start up until today, basically.
Fuck that guy though.
I just want to keep playing and playing and playing and playing. It's an addicting feeling of I want to win. I always do.
A lot of people just play like each other and just look for the quote unquote optimal way and the safest way, but
You know, so it got bad, but it has never been that bad in the past, which was quite, you know, concerning.
thanks, bro. Thanks for having me, bro.
Anytime, man.
Now let's quit the game.
I'm Nohara. I'm a Naraka content creator on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. I've been partnered with this game for about 3 years now, and Zatu came with the coolest idea to bring this interview over to me so I can answer some questions.
My name is Shinigami. I'm a content creator for Naraka Bladepoint. I play all the modes except for trios. I play customs mainly. I do guides. Like personally, I coach people for free for like 3 years now. Yeah, I have like about 3,000 hours in Naraka, like actual playtime.
Hello, my name is Immortal. I am a previously #1 NA player, and I've traveled to China, and I am now currently top 100 in China.
As you probably already mentioned, my name is Rustam. I have been playing Naraka since the beta, actually, and yeah, ever since when the game has become free to play. I've been probably known as the Uation player of EU because I had rank 1 for a couple of seasons. I've just basically always streamed trios, duos, solos, you name it, and kept having fun in the game. And I've seen the game in many stages from the start up until today, basically. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name's Dunking Donut. Some of you might know me from Twitch or YouTube, but I've been all from in-game, as I've been around since the very beginning of Naraka. Played in the last beta before the launch, and playing ever since. You know, I've played and competed at the highest level in the game. I think I've got like 11,000 hours in the game at this point. Been to China multiple times. I'm also the one of the official casters for NBPL. I've been to J Cup the last 3 years. So yeah, I've been around ever since the very beginning, and I'm still here.
How clear were the initial tutorials when explaining the core combat, light attack, blue focus, and parry? Did you feel prepared for your first real fight?
When I started playing this game, it was back in 2023, right when the Near collaboration came out. And I would say that the game's mechanics were not really properly introduced for a newer player. Like when I was trying out the guide and the tutorial in the game, it did not really teach me how to do certain mechanics that are super dominant in today's game, such as hold checking. That is like the most dominant thing people do in all game modes, solo, duos, and trios. But nowhere in the tutorials do they teach you how to do it. And the same goes for when to use specific dodges, like what is a hold dodge, what is a tap dodge, when do you have to use these specific things. And when it comes to releasing blue attacks, for example, it doesn't really teach it to you. It just tells you, like, if you hold it down 1.0, you release it. If you hold down 2.0, you release it. But they kind of want you to figure it out by yourself, like when to use specific things. They just throw everything at you, and then they're like, oh, you need to do it all by yourself. That's how I kind of saw it, and I feel like it's still the same way right now. But I would proudly say that we got a lot of content creators and partners within the game right now who are very, very helpful towards newer players. It does happen to me quite often where someone new joins my stream and asks me certain questions that are not being properly introduced within the game by itself. And it's not only me, but also other streamers and other content creators. And we're doing a great job as a community to come forward together and helping these newer players find their way of understanding certain mechanics in the game, rather than doing the tutorial in the game and they throw everything at you and you need to figure it all out by yourself.
When I played the game, like when I started, there was no like really good tutorial. It was just a basic movement explaining how every button and what every button does. It wasn't fleshed out until free-to-play came around, and they taught people how to grapple combo and bait stuff. So, I mean, they mainly played way differently back then than they do now. a way faster game than it was back then. I played the new one when it came out, to see what it was about, because you got like chests and Tessa emote and free character. The new tutorial is like way better. It actually explains the core gameplay more than it did on the first one when you make your account. So I think it was really good for new players when free to play was open. It's way better than what we had.
My first bot fight was fine because they teach in the tutorial they teach blue focuses as something that is just super easily reactable with the left and right mouse button. They don't really go into detail on like for the basic tutorial they don't really explain how light attacks can be used. They just teach you the AA, the light attack, and then the 1-2-3 combo, the standard thing. They don't explain 1.0s are not just reactable, and even in China, you cannot just react to every single 1.0 that's thrown at you in the same way that they demonstrated in the tutorial mode. The tutorial is not bad, but it's definitely not good either. They should definitely go more in depth on what is possible. I think the tutorial was just a massive waste of time. It teaches you the basics, like they teach you how to blue release, they teach you how to parry, and they teach you how to light attack. That's it. If you're trying to play the game, just let them figure that out because your first few hours in ranked are just gonna be that regardless. You have to figure it out as you go. At that point, just remove the tutorial because your tutorial is playing bronze against bots. So
It's a bit hard for me to answer because when I played the game, the tutorial was not that advanced, but I have heard that it got improved and it like showed to even do stuff like scale rushes and all of that, right? So it teaches you the basics, kinda, but at the same time, it could be more because it's not like you are prepared to be in a fight right after the tutorial. That is not the case.
Well, when it comes to the tutorial, and when I actually did it for the purposes of learning the base mechanics of the game, I mean, it was all right back then, but that was before before anyone really knew what was going on and what was possible. Naraka has tried to augment and change and improve the tutorial ever since then. But I have to say, if I were to do it now without the knowledge that I already have and dive into the game, it gives you the very bare minimum, but there is so much more. Can make it a little bit difficult, potentially confusing for newer players who base their knowledge of the game entirely around the tutorial. I think the tutorial could give you a little bit more information, but that's where guides and streamers and people come in to try and help you out. As it stands, I think it's all right for bare bones, but anything more than that, you're gonna need to find something else to help you out.
In the beginning, bronze, silver, and gold lobbies has a lot of bots. How long did it take for you to realize you were fighting bots, and how did that affect your enjoyment?
No, to be honest, me as a player who started off playing this game during a time period where there was a lot of players, which was during the second year anniversary with the near collaboration. I was not really always invested in playing ranked when I first started playing. I was always invested in playing quick play, quick match, because that's what I met majority of the friends that I have right now. If I were to have to play rank when I was bronze, silver, and gold, I would come across bots in my first couple games, that's for sure. But I think as soon as I hit gold 5, or what was it, gold 1? I don't know what the highest rank is. I think it's gold 5 that's the highest, right? No, it's gold 1 that's the highest.
Yeah, it's gold one.
Either way, it doesn't matter. When I was gold, that's when I first started noticing actual players in my matches. But this was again in a time period where the game reached its peak as a player count. So it was around that time.
Back when I played the game, like back in season 1 and in the beta, I didn't really find any bots. It was only until like around season 5 I started seeing bots. But back then it was like really competitive, even at like gold and platinum. It took like a long time for someone to reach Asura. No one even knew Unrivaled Asura existed before it was even hit. Like everybody thought it was Asura. But yeah, when I saw bots, I didn't think much of it because there were a majority of players still there. If we could compare the bots now and back then, I think the bots back then were way more annoying. because they would target you, grapple you, they could grief you, all sorts of things. Like the bots nowadays don't even do this. It rarely comes by where a bot will grief you in the middle of a fight. But at the end of the day, I didn't mind it, especially now in 2026. It's really stale and it's honestly horrible. Like if you're not Asura, especially now with champion fight, you're not gonna find the real person almost. And if you do, it's probably a smurf, so you'll suffer either way, either from boredom or you're just gonna get rolled.
Well, I will say that it is for new players. I think it's relatively fine. I don't think it's that big of a deal to an extent that I think other players might feel. Mainly because it's only terrible as like a high level player going back into it. You don't rank up very fast, and you don't really encounter anything real. You don't really play the true game that you are already used to until you get way up there. And I'm talking internationally, I'm talking uh Empyrean, maybe depending on the time of the season, maybe Solar. I'm not really sure what international's at right now.
I've been working on it,
But
and like recently, like when I hit what was it called, Plat, around like mid Plat, I started to get into champion fight lobbies. But maybe it's because I had a high KDA or something. I'm not completely sure. But yeah.
KD does affect that. For me, I get into even in China, I only just hit Astral and I'm already in champion fight. Actually, no, I hit a champion fight in Imperial, and it's the start of the season. I'm already up there. So KD and stats do affect how that functions. Yes, you should increase how many points you get at the start, because you don't really start to gain a lot of points until you hit like platinum. Then you can gain like 96 points. The new player experience should not just be like you get 15 kills and you get 30 points. It's way too little for killing 15 bots international.
When I played in beta, there was like basically it was like a closed beta, so it was always like players playing there. You had some occasional bots, which was okay. And then when I like bought the game, I noticed just a fresh account has quite some bots, and I was like, dude, that's not fun. It's just a big misconception of how the new player experience should be, because someone who doesn't know anything about gaming might feel like, oh my god, I'm the best player in the game. But that only lasts until 3 games where you realize, okay, now it's not bots anymore. When you're someone who's more experienced in the game and you queue up into ranked, you basically are faced with a lot of bots, and you know it is bots, that it's not real players because you're experienced in gaming. So in my opinion, it should be like, if you really want to keep those bot games to get you in the game, name them differently. Don't make it so you queue up for ranked where you think it's ranked, but it's not against players, right? There should be some, not like a misconception about it. That is like my opinion on it.
Well, to be honest with you, it's been so long that I don't remember. Plus, back in the day, when the game first launched, it was pay to play. Although it wasn't very expensive, it was like 15 to 20 pounds or something like that. And there was no level requirement to play ranked or anything like that. Because obviously nowadays there is a level requirement unless you opt into buying the season pack, which allows you to unlock ranked sooner. But if you're playing quick play, this is essentially the standard when it comes to battle royale games across the board. Quick matches, casual matches, whatever you want to call them, they're going to have bots in them no matter what. The trouble, I would say, for early ranks though, is that even in early ranks in Naraka and Global, there are bots. Like, you're gonna be finding a bunch of bots, which it's a double-edged sword. It's good and bad, because one, it's kind of good in the sense that because the bots do scale, the difficulty of killing the bots scales depending on the rank. However, if you're just mashing bots and you keep ranking up, you are building some confidence, which is nice, and you're learning a little bit more. However, as soon as you do run into to real players, it can be a bit of a shock, and you can just sort of, oh my god, I did not know what I was doing. Great. But so it's good and bad. However, it would be very nice for them to find a way to reduce the overall number of bots in lower rank, or just find some other way, to deal with this whole thing. I've contemplated the idea of Naraka potentially, doing an actual full rank reset at some point? Because so far over the last 5 years, there's never been a single full rank reset. It's only been soft resets every season. I think with the recent season update, with the 5th anniversary season update, they did introduce a new thing for returning players, which adds placements into the game, so that once you come back after a certain amount of time, it will then allow you to do placement matches to sort of give you a more accurate rank that represents the skill level that you're at. I think so that shows that they're thinking about it in some ways, and perhaps at some point we will just see a full rank reset, or something more of a reset than there has been in the past, because so far it's just not. I feel like it's not really enough, and it would also like help deal with the oversaturation of players within mid to high rank and undersaturation of players in low rank.
So as a North American or European player, how have the queue times affected your experience, especially outside of the peak hours? Have long queues ever made you log off?
I'm not really the most invested when it comes to playing ranked. I just play it whenever it's possible and whenever I feel like it. But when it comes to queue times, and when I stream, for example, there have been moments where I try to queue up for solos and I see, hey, 15 minutes queue time, and the first thing I do is I invite a friend to play duos instead, because I don't see why I should queue for so long and then end up getting killed or getting griefed or getting stream sniped in my first match and then having to deal with that shit again. What I want to say is we've come across with a lot of measurements to fight against higher queue times, but now that measurement is gone, which was hosting Spirit Walk customs during my streams. Rip Spirit Walk customs. They might come back, by the way. They might actually come back. But no, it never actually got me to log off before, because I like to also spend time in the Fairyland, Penglai, and Naraka, and just spend time with people that I know or people that I come across. But yeah, that's my answer, I guess.
Queue times, they never really bothered me much because I mostly played duos. I've mostly played duos in my entirety of playing Naraka or customs. It didn't affect me much. However, waiting for solos in recent times on stream or off stream is, yeah, I think it's better to be in queue on stream because you can do something else and entertain other people while being in queue. However, if you're just off stream and you're sitting there like doing nothing and your queue gets cancelled like 3 times, yeah, it's just not pleasant. You're just better off playing duos.
This is an interesting perception because I know that I was probably the only player that would sit there for 4 hours and watch anime, hoping to get a queue. And after every episode, I just restart the queue over and over and over again, or I time out and then I restart the queue. Nearing the end of my time in North America, I actually only started to play the game for 3 hours a day. I never logged on unless it was Immortal War time. And that was the only time I touched the game because I just could not play on at all. I would sit there for 5 hours and I'd get no games. I'm sitting at the very top of the leaderboard. I mean, I have the highest KD out of everyone. I'm just not going to get a game. I've had this conversation within a few players. My personal opinion is that they need to change champion fight to some extent. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I just think it should not have 16 players for international. I think it should have much smaller lobbies, because the main game mode for international now is Immortal War. You make the lobbies much smaller to give people those queues back. They don't want to be waiting, 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at the start of a season, because they have to get 16 players that are in a similar skills level. They need to make the lobbies much smaller, maybe 8 or 12 players, and you'll get insta queues all the time. It might not be as fun, but increase the zone speed, and maybe it wouldn't be as bad. You're not looking around for 25 minutes to find someone if you increase the zone speed similar to how it is Immortal War. You can make the champion fight match like Immortal War, but for maybe top 50 on the leaderboard or higher. Make it something that people want to get into. Make it something that is gated above a certain top on the leaderboard for international. I think that would be a good idea.
Since I was basically always mainly a trios player, I have experienced there was some heavy effect on queue times there. Sometimes you would have to log queue for 20 minutes or something, and that would basically make me ditch the game mode like entirely and play something else, like maybe duos or something that actually is playable, because I don't have so much time. Also work like a 9 to 5, and I get home and I want to hop on the game. I don't want to wait 20 minutes for a game. I don't know, if you're out early, you have to wait a long time as well. That for sure does affect the gaming experience, because unless you're the top player, like literally on the top, you shouldn't have such difficulties to find games.
Yes, they have. I mean, for me, it is a little bit different because, of course, I've not only been playing the game for 5 years since the very beginning, but also streaming it. You know, I stream it every day, so it's a bit different for me. Where like I'll just like there have been times where I'll sit in queue. If I were to really think about it, you know, if I hadn't been streaming, if I wasn't streaming the game, then I might have just logged off and not bothered playing, or I would have, you know, watched something on my other screen and sat in queue regardless. I will say this though, that throughout my entire, you know, history playing Naraka, up until earlier this year, in fact, there was never a time where I couldn't log on at around midday, which is when I usually get online and start stream and stuff. I could never log on. It would never happen when I'd log on around midday and I wouldn't get games. You know, I remember a month or two ago, I queued up around midday, 1 p.m. UK time, you know, and I sat in queue for an hour and a half and didn't get a game. You know, so it got bad. But it has never been that bad in the past, which was quite, you know, concerning. However, recently, especially after the big season patch, the new map being added and the anniversary, that has changed. You know, now it's all of a sudden just been revitalized. I certainly hope that it's going to stay like that. However, only time will tell.
What keeps you coming back to the game despite the steep learning curve? Is it the aesthetic, the competitive drive, or something else?
It's none of those actually. You know, most important things that I like about this game are both the cosmetics, but also the community I'm surrounded with. Because me as a content creator that uploads on a consistent basis and streams every week, I've come across a community that welcomes me with open arms every single time, shows love and shows kindness no matter what I do, even if I'm playing the game or if I'm hanging around in Discord or in the peng line doing nothing. For me, the main thing why I keep playing this game is for the people that support me. I do also enjoy the game for my own reasons, which is learning combos, learning new things, learning new mechanics, making clips, making videos, and buying new skins, because that apparently never stops. It's those things that actually make me continue playing this game on a consistent basis, because this game gives me a feeling that no other game has given me before, and that feeling is receiving kindness and love from people around me, and also noticing how sweet people can be, but also of course there is some rotten apples around the bunch that are not rotten, but you know, that is with every game. But it doesn't stop me from playing the game, because I know that I can fulfill an expectation from people who like to support me or like to show love by doing what I'm doing.
So when I really got into Naraka, I used to not really play this game despite me buying it, like, well, pre-ordering it even since the beta. I played since the beta, but I never really like picked it up and played it fully because I played other games. But yeah, I just usually logged in, bought skins, and logged off, played like League or Valorant at the time. By a certain point, after getting like my shit rocked, I was like, I want to beat everybody in this game. I want to have that ability to just beat everyone. There was a point where I plateaued and I didn't understand why I was getting rolled all the time. So I took it upon myself to come back, sit down, and actually like learn the game. I still played with my friend back then that I started the game with. That helps, you know, playing with a friend. Or having a community to be in, which is easier now than it was back then, because back then other people knew each other or like they formed the community. You couldn't really fit in. You just mostly get egoed or something, you know. But yeah, what made me come back is the way the game plays. You know, it's people make it out to be a rock paper scissors thing, but it's much deeper than that. And the deeper you go, the more complex it is. So yeah, I mean, it made me come back like multiple times because, well, everything about the game is like great, you know, aesthetic wise, the idea, the gameplay, how everything just clicks and works well together. Because a lot of people give a lot of shit to the game for not working or that it's a bad idea or whatnot. I disagree. I think it's just mainly because of ping issues. Like no one has the same ping almost. You know, you fluctuate between fighting someone who has 15 ping and then you fight someone who has 80 ping and it's not the same thing. But yeah, I think everything made me just come back because everything is pretty good in this game. I don't think there's anything that has a flaw except for, you know, you had to buy the game and you still had to pay a whole lot of money to buy skins or like get a red skin from a chest, you know. I think monetization is pretty bad in terms of like chests. But then again, they make it up with events. But yeah, everything made me come back. And the learning curve just it's a challenge and I like challenges, so I took it upon myself and I like that.
The thing that makes me keep playing this game is genuinely one thing. It's just hard. I don't think any game that is easy is remotely rewardable or remotely enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, I think it's fine if you enjoy those types of games. But for me, you know, I loved Dark Souls, I loved challenge, I loved learning, and I loved like seeing the real fruits of my effort. It is something I could actually look at and say, that's mine. That is something I built. That is something I worked for. And I don't really feel like I can do that. If I open, you know, Call of Duty, I don't really feel that sense of satisfaction. Not to mention, there's no other game like Naraka Bladepoint. There's nothing with the amount of creativity. There's nothing exactly like it in terms of combos and what you can and cannot do. Those are all factors that just keep driving me back to this game. And every time I lose, I just want to keep playing and playing and playing and playing. It's an addicting feeling of I want to win. I always do.
Okay, chill with the aura, bro. Holy fuck.
I mean, I personally, I'm just someone. I like the game. I like when new characters come out, when there's some new to learn. This is what keeps me in the game. Things to like get better at. Like for example, we have the new map that's released, some new character, and I want to learn how this works. Maybe a new weapon, learn some combos, some advanced things about it. This is basically what keeps me in the game. Playing with the community of Europe and connecting with each other, I think that's for me very important.
A mixture of all of them, to be honest with you, and Tarka, to be honest. Some have said in the past to me, you know, that Dunking, he doesn't play Naraka, he plays Tarka. You know, and it's kind of true in some ways. I'm a little bit weird like that. You know, I've got 11,000 hours on Tarka. I've got, you know, thousands of hours playing Darius and League and almost exclusively. So I'm just that kind of person, you know. But I think it is a mixture of the other things. You know, the awesome aesthetic of the game, the theme, the combat system, and its, you know, infinite depth. There are some who will say Naraka is just rock, paper, scissors. It's really not. Naraka is more like, it's rock, paper, scissors. If the rock changed material, size and weight, density, the scissors got longer, shorter, sharper, you know, and then the paper had essays written on them and they were done in different fonts and colors, you know. There's just so much more to the game than so many people realize when they initially start, which can be quite intimidating and quite daunting to a newer player. So that, I would say, is probably one of the game's issues. It's player retention. Once they get past that initial phase, are they going to be able to actually put in the time or actually get better, actually learn the things that they need to learn? Yeah, it's hard to really say, but I mean, streaming the game, like the community within the game and all the friends that I've made along the way, and I remember shortly after I originally discovered the game, I thought to myself that this was the game that I felt like I had been waiting to play for so long. Like for years and years, I'd been waiting for something like that to come out, and I just fell in love with it.
How do you feel about the current balance between PvP optimizations, characters, weapons, you name it? Is it new player friendly?
Now, let me actually start by saying that I found it quite unnecessary how they. Nah, like I found this like a double-edged sword. The fact that they removed from every character except for Takeda, the fact that everyone has 3 ults and 3 skills. Like, I found that diversity in that sense was very cool to see more flexible playstyles and also people running things that are completely off meta. But at the same time, this for them to remove this also allowed them to properly balance characters in a more capable way rather than relying on three skills all the time, three ults all the time, which can be more, it can be a more difficult task for Naraka to balance around. But I would have to say that newer characters that came out, such as Zenda, Li, and Tara. I would say Zenda and Tara have been a great addition to the game. They are not game breaking like the characters such as Li, Enor, Lani, Saira, Kylen, Liam, Sheol. The characters such as those actually instantly affected the meta in a negative way where people would only play those characters because they are the best characters. But ever since Zenda and Tara came out, the diversity in character selection remained the same rather than them all shifting towards the newest character that is like the most OP. But when it comes to complexity in those characters, I would say that the newer characters that came out don't really seem so complex to me at all compared to the more harder characters like Justina and Tarka. So if you want to ask me, should they add more harder characters? I would say yes, because then people would also invest more time into mastering a certain character rather than trying a character out first time and noticing he's super easy and dominant, and then everyone remains to play him right away.
I think a lot of the recent changes in the like past 6 months have been good. Despite like releasing like certain broken characters like Shunwan, but everyone like after Shunwan, like Zenda and Tara like came out pretty balanced. Even though Zenda is like pretty good pick, I don't think she's like busted or like overly broken. Like you can deal with her, with the new additions of like Green Focus and the new talent tree. Yeah, it is like in my opinion, I don't think Green Focus should be a thing, but then again, for a new player experience, I think it's a good thing. And I don't think people realize that like Silence Parry or like the dodge glyph or like game focus, like all those paths, they're more like a preference thing rather than a one size fits all kind of thing. It really has to come down to you choosing what is right for you and not just following like what Mike is using, because even they fluctuate.
Yeah.
So for example, Spider, sometimes I see him not take Silence Glyph. Sometimes I see him take Silence Glyph with no Green Focus. Like it just fluctuates, and everybody takes it differently on each characters as well, even in pro play. Yeah, I think people really need to look at that and think about it because you don't have to play like everybody, and I think that's kind of the problem in global as well. Like a lot of people just play like each other and just look for the quote unquote optimal way and the safest way. But if something suits your style and you can do a certain thing better than the other and it gives you a better outcome, I think you should go for that rather than limiting yourself and choosing what everybody chooses or like what is the optimal way. As for hero changes and balances, I think like solos is kind of stale, but if it goes back to like the 2024, 2023 Jacob meta, I think it'll be a good thing. So new players can also play other picks instead of forced to play like ACOS, Demolch. That's the only thing I really want is more variety.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's in a bad place. I don't think it's also in a good place either. The biggest problem that we have right now is, at least for, in my opinion, for international, you have the veterans that have been playing the game for the past even for 2 years. It's such a big knowledge gap compared to the new players. When the new players come in, if they don't stick to the game, they won't really be able to beat anyone. And it was like that for me too when I started 2 years ago. I got my ass beat by everyone, every single person. I'm not winning that. There is no real skill, like in between ground for skills. There's just your veterans and then there's your brand new players. That's kind of hard, especially when there's not much resource available to learn those same techniques that we've taken from the Chinese players that, well, new players aren't going to know how to do and new players aren't going to go out of their way to learn. But if you remove those things, then the veterans just stop playing. We play this game for the challenge. You remove the challenge, we don't want to play. I think the new changes that they are making, there's hope for sure. I think the game is moving in the right direction from what I've seen, for sure. This anniversary was amazing. I was very, very, very pleased with the Naraka development team. And if they continue to make changes with optimization, I think that we'll be somewhere. We'll definitely get somewhere.
I must say that there is characters that are for sure neglected a lot, and I guess they're trying to like make them more playable again by doing some reworks or some changes, but it feels like some of the older characters just get like lost. Like especially for example, people would not enjoy playing Yotov because she just did not hold up to standard. Same with Takeda, for example. It's just like some of these characters really feel forgotten. It felt the same for certain weapons, like for the longest time with Greatsword. Like, for example, on Pole Sword, you had this 1-2 that you could cancel, and you couldn't on Greatsword until they changed it at some point. Like, I feel like there is this tendency to kind of forget about the older weapons or older characters. Of course, we as a community just play kind of the new stuff. As a new player, you wouldn't really get it. You just see so many characters and you just want to kind of play what's cool, right? One character is just not balanced enough, or I mean, not strong enough to hold up to par. It's like it kind of messes with it because you like the style and everything, but he just loses every matchup. Like there has to be some work there as well. And then there's something that isn't related to that. And this is like a hardware thing. The higher FPS you have, the more advantage you have, the bigger the gap is, right? The smaller the gap, if it's like 100 FPS more, okay, you don't notice it so much, but it also depends. Like 60 FPS to, I don't know, to 200 is a big difference,
Like
right?
a PlayStation player against a PC player is
Yeah,
not play.
this kind of thing, right? This does affect it, but this is also a more complicated topic, which takes a lot of like thinking of how do I approach this topic. What can be fixed for sure is kind of looking at the older characters and weapons a bit and see make sure that they are at least viable in most game modes, because certain characters are also they only work in team modes. But what if I want to play Tianhai in solos? Like what if I want to do it like certain characters have this where just their solo version of the ult is different than their trios, others don't. And I feel like if you would have balanced that a bit, it would make it more fun for the newer players as well, if they can play certain characters everywhere, kinda, right?
Yeah, basically having
Yeah,
variety on the character for both solo
exactly.
and
Yeah.
trios. Yeah, okay.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
That's one of the things that we talked about beforehand, where it was like, because in the early levels, the early ranks and everything like that, they're gonna be playing against bots and like quite a lot, and then there's lots of different like casual for fun game modes, etc. So I think when it comes to, if you're referring to character balance, if characters are balanced, and whether or not these players will be able to pick up these characters or compete with these other characters when they're like, considering the balance that they're in, I think so, yes. But I mean, this is something that I addressed many times. So many people have come and asked me in chat, like, oh, what tips do you have for me as a new player? And I'll always tell them to try and to just try out all the different characters, see what they do, see what they like, and play something and focus on it based entirely on their own enjoyment of it, because and not to focus on what's meta, or to play something that's quote unquote like good for new players, because I think because the game has so much to offer, there's so much depth, there's so much to learn. Going through that whole learning experience whilst playing something that you enjoy is the most important part, and it'll make that whole experience more fun for you. When it comes to tackling all these things, it can be a little bit tough when it comes to, once you do sort of break through that ceiling and you start playing against real players, and let's say you haven't had someone who's been playing the game showing you the ropes and teaching you different things and explaining different concepts to you. It can be quite difficult, but I think it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. There's lots of guides and stuff out there that can be helpful, and the training range does offer quite a lot of information. It's just that new players don't always know where to look for these kind of things. It can be a bit tough.
If Naraka officials were listening to you right now, what would you tell them?
I think the main thing I want them to do is to stop like excluding global from China. Like the way how exclusivity for Chinese server, like for example the J-Cup cap, the NBPL cap that people got. In China it was super easy to get it, but in global you had to fight for it during a live stream, and it was super hard to get one. Like things like that, for example. But also I would really want to advise them to also listen to the community like they are doing right now. I have to give them props for doing it since January this year. They should also add more things from mobile to the PC version, add more cosmetics from mobile, add more cool things. Because in mobile, for example, just a small example, right? In mobile last year during the summer, the Penglai had a big a big water slide and a cool summer environment, whilst we in the PC version had absolutely nothing during the summer. And like that exclusivity made no sense to me. And I feel like they should not do that because majority of their players are also coming from the PC version. And most importantly, please bring back Spiritual Customs, because them removing Spiritual from the custom room section makes no sense. Like more diversity, more things to do in the game only results to more players playing the game. If they exclude things and remove things, then people are just gonna drop the game. Like what are people meant to do in global when the queue times in solo queue is 20 minutes minimum? Are they meant to stay in queue for 20 minutes, or should I play custom rooms with whoever in a for fun game mode? Like they should have more things to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, about the spiritual customs, bro. Preach. Like, we really need that back. I miss it too because I used to join your customs and it was fun as fuck. Like, I don't really enjoy like fun modes, but when it was your customs and you were organizing it, it was actually fun. I actually enjoyed a lot of it.
Appreciate it.
I wrote something like that in the Naraka partner channel because they asked us, like, all partners as a whole, feedback to give towards the devs. Yeah, I'd say, like, first and foremost, like, don't deviate, like, stop deviating like from what made Naraka like really good. Like, it's a melee-oriented battle royale, and a lot of people back then saw these cool combos and style and skill expression, and everybody, came to play mostly because of that. Sure, people came for skins, sure, people came for the aesthetic, but majority of people that I know that have even said that they came from like watching videos, such as Casper and Pastu back then, seeing all these crazy things you can do, all these combos. Yeah, I'm not saying make this infinite combo simulator or something, but keep the skill expression. Because nowadays it's just whoever has the better ultimate, whoever has the better ability will just win. Sometimes some weapons, all it takes is like 3 blue releases and it's gone. Like you're just done for. They've done a good job lately with balancing characters and also all sorts of things regarding balance, so that's a good thing. If they just keep going on this track, I think very healthy for the game. Also, another point that I made in what they asked us in the partner channel was like, stop making Naraka MOBA exclusivity. And since I saw the anniversary, I saw that we're getting the mobile hero, like one of the mobile heroes, onto the Naraka PC client. So that's a great thing. So they listened. But yeah, I want like more mobile features. The features that they have in mobile, like creating custom maps, like training drills. They all have all sorts of things in Naraka Mobile. They have like a map where you can pick Uation, like practice your jumping, in the ultimate. I don't want them to give CN exclusive things anymore, Like I get it, but I don't think we should be neglected. I think we should just all have the same thing. I think that would be the best. Yeah, I think a lot more data on how the game works. So like when the dodge ends, when the dodge starts, all these sorts of things, like frame data and fighting games, that kind of thing. So it would help a lot of people, like enthusiasts, make guides or like teach people and all sorts of things. Because a lot of people, even after like Naraka's entering 5 years of its lifespan, a lot of people that have played like even since day one, they don't know a lot of the things or are misinformed. They have a negative view on the game. So, for example, someone dodges poorly and they just immediately call out rubber band. It's just misinformation. They just don't know any better. Because there's no real data. We all just have to figure it out ourselves. Kind of a beautiful thing, but also, a pretty bad thing. Like for newcomers, it's pretty bad, but like for enthusiasts, it's kind of a beautiful thing because, you kind of create a tech and then everybody follows it and everybody tries to replicate it, and new tech gets created from that tech. I think overall, give us more data, stop mobile exclusivity, stop CN exclusivity. You don't have to stop it entirely, but just give us like at least the majority of it. Something in the shop that they cannot have. They see a whole different region have it. They're like, why the fuck am I even playing this game?
I would tell them, thank you so much for making this game. That is the one thing I will always be grateful for. Is I didn't really know what I wanted to do. China is like a huge step for I think anyone. I mean, I'm an American, but I'm in China. It's a very big difference from where I thought my life might end up being. And to be honest, I didn't even know what I wanted to do for like the longest time. Naraka kind of gave me everything I have. I want to give Naraka everything I have. If
That's
they were
nice.
listening, that is what I'd say.
That's a wholesome answer. Okay, we take those.
Like, I must say that I am pretty happy with this new anniversary and this new season. Good job on that. What I must say though is I really hope that we as a community in the West get people dedicated to like keep the environment clean from cheaters, from all of these people that just need to be out of this game, because there's just too much where I don't know, certain players keep getting away with like either cheating, stream sniping, all of that stuff, and there just is not enough punishment for that. And if you want your player base to enjoy your game, they should be out, like, because they ruin the game, and letting people just do what they want because haha I can't get punished anyway just kind of ruins it for the current player base and the newer player base. Because yeah, like, if you as a new player go against a cheater, you're like, what is this game? Like, why is he not banned? And it just keeps going like this. There has to be work done there for sure. But other than that, like, if the content and the updates keep coming up like this, it's great. But we just need more like this support for other regions, this support or like this care for the West as well, as much as they have in mainland China, for example. I would just wish more of that, basically, just dedicated people for us.
Answering that question properly, and it would take too long, because there's so many things that I'd like to say. But to name a few, I mean the game is amazing. There's been so many people who've stuck around, played the game, and still love the game to this day. However, it's becoming, unfortunately, more and more difficult to justify playing it extensively and to stick around, partially due to certain problems that haven't been fixed with the game for a very, very long time. And for example, the Junhuan ultimate reactivation bug that has since his release, or since a week after his release, has still not been fixed is kind of insane to me. And then the fact that over the last for years now, the global side of the game has been pleading, begging to get more servers and to have something done about the whole ping situation. This is definitely something that affects the North American server more so. However, in EU we still have this issue. East and Western Europe, it's pretty far away, and it would certainly be really nice to have at least the ability to play on a server where you're more likely to run into people who are around the same average ping as you. And because it changes the game in so many ways. I mentioned earlier how I've been to China and casted the J Cup World Tournament. Getting to play the game in China on extremely low ping, on these better quality servers, it feels like a different game. It feels like a completely different experience, and that is something that we're missing out on in global. And I think that would be something that would not only be a good thing to get sorted out before any marketing is done for the game to try and revitalize the player base, etc., but also it would highly incentivize a considerable number of people who have played the game in the past but have chosen to, take a step back or to drop it completely, and it would give them a reason to come back and play the game again. I mean, there's a lot of other things I could say. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things I could say, but I'd be sat here for an hour yapping. A lot to be said, and I mean, there's lots of little tweaks and stuff that could be made, but I think servers, certain bugs that just need to be fixed, certain things that need to be sorted, are the big main ones.
What's your advice to new players who started to play the game recently?
Oh, that's a good question. When it comes to this, it's important that the new player needs to figure out what type of character or weapon they enjoy to play the most. Because the main questions I receive when a new player enters my stream is like, oh, what's the best character? What's the best weapon? What's the best glyph system? How do you do this? How do you do that? My advice for newer players is to just play the game. Just go into quick match, go into bot mode, go into ranked, whatever mode you like to play. It doesn't matter which one. Even Spirit WoW is a really good mode for newer players, as you fight a lot of times and you get to work on your muscle memory and your mechanics. But my advice is try out majority of the characters. I'm not saying every character, because newer players does tend to receive all the characters quite easily. Try to understand, like, hey, what is my favorite character? Which character fits my playstyle? Am I more of a healer? Am I more of a tank or a DPS or a support? And what type of weapons do I prefer? Because once you know that, once you know, like, hey, this is my character, this is my type of weapons I like to play, improving would be way easier, because you're no longer worrying about, hey, is this even the right playstyle? Is this even the right character I need to pick? By the end of the day, every character is somewhat usable in every mode. Maybe not every character, but majority of them. And same goes for all the weapons. It's just all about your mastery on those characters. You can be the best player in a game by just playing the way you play. You don't have to play what's best. You need to find what you enjoy, because once you find out what you enjoy in the game, that's what will be able to make you continue to play the game even further and make you motivated to improve at it. Once you know that, because usually that step doesn't take too long, that's when you can ask questions about your character, about your weapons, and about the sole mechanics about the game, And from that point, watching people play, or watching VODs, watching streamers, or just playing the game yourself, because you don't need to improve at the game. You can find your fun in any sort of way by playing either casual or ranked, or just modes that have nothing to do with Battle Royale. But once you see other people play, you tend to, wonder, how do you do this type of things? And that's when asking questions comes into play. But it all depends on what the newer player wants to do in the game. Do they want to play ranked, or do they want to be casual? Because you can find ways to improve in this game quite easily. But it all starts with, what is my character? What is my weapons that I like to play? Get those things sorted first in either quick match, Spirit WoW, ranked, bot mode, or even free training. Just go through every character. Go through every character, find out what's your favorite, and then from there on, things is gonna be way easier for a newer player to improve at the game when to move on forward. Because what I want to say with this is, if a new player just goes from character to character to character, weapon to weapon to weapon, and doesn't really want to learn what those weapons do or what those characters do, then they don't really find the necessity of do I like this, or like, how do you play this properly? That's my answer to your question. It's a bit long though.
Watch streams. Don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people in the community, like with big names, don't hesitate to help you for free. Don't look into coaching just yet, because you're pretty new and you don't know what your shortcomings are. I'd say after your shortcomings, you could look into coaching, like specifically. But yeah, other than that, than these advices, just play the game. Like, really, just play the game, fuck around and find out. Ask yourself questions about how you lost, what you could do better, and rewatch your videos. That's the biggest cheat code there is. Just rewatch how you lost.
If you want to learn as fast as possible, I will always recommend working on knife. This is something that when I look back on, I don't regret it, even if it's screwing me over now. The most important part of this game is understanding movement and being able to fight, especially in a world where your veterans rule it, right? So please play as much custom room as possible. This 0 ban, 1 ban, don't do 3 ban. 3 ban does not teach you practical knife. Just focus on 0 ban and 1 ban. This will teach you so much. Even if it's just a few hours, it is genuinely the fastest way you're going to learn. take in as much information as possible and think about it. That is my advice. You can also look up YouTube channels like Sintra or Naraka Auto Replays. I know Naraka Auto Replays doesn't post as much anymore on YouTube, but for the basics and everything that you're trying to learn, you could definitely be watching all of those VODs for the pro players in NBPL. Those are all available on those channels. So I highly recommend it. I really do.
As an advice for newer players, this game is very, very complex. There's so much you need to know. It's not like this where you search this YouTube videos and you're like, oh, Naraka's in the rock, paper, scissors. Nah, there's just so many things you need to know. And what do you do in those type of games? If you're on your own, I would just get in touch with the community, because there's a lot of people who are willing to either teach newer players, play some customs with them, tell them what they're like, what they need to improve on, or just answer questions to you, because the game is way too complex to have a guide video on it on YouTube for everything. Like, sometimes you just need to ask certain players in the community and get in touch with them. And if you do have like a friend group and you guys are starting the game together, it's much better like to start with people on your skill level. Like, you and your homies are like, yo, let's try out Naraka. And then you do customs against each other and have fun, goof around. Someone from your friend group learns a new combo and you're like, yo, how did you do that? And then you teach each other. This is kind of how you grow and how you keep yourself motivated to have this little rivalry again between each other, keep playing together, all of that. Like, this keeps the morale up. But if you are starting as a solo, I just recommend getting in touch with the community, either like from the official server, from Twitch streams community. Like, people are quite friendly if you just ask them for advice. I have yet to meet someone where if they get asked, oh, how do you do this or how do you do that, and they would just straight up not help. So most of the time, pretty friendly people who are willing to help. So just don't be shy, ask, feel welcomed by the community.
I mentioned a couple questions ago, or a couple answers ago, that one of the things that I always tell new players whenever they ask for tips is to just when they open up the game, get in there, do the tutorial, and then go into the free training, the training range, the practice tool, whatever you'd like to call it. And you can go in there and you can try out all the different characters, you can try out all the different weapons, you can try out the different soul jades, which affect the weapons, attacks and animations, etc. And I always say, try and pick one character that you like for whatever reason. You think they look cool, you think that they're fun to play, you like the aesthetic, you like the whatever, the role that they play, and then try and pick 2 or 3 melee weapons, and focus on those, and like try and learn like the most basic of combos. You don't have to learn anything crazy, you don't have to learn anything fancy. And then just play, just have fun. But then after that initial period of you playing, a few days, a week, a couple of weeks, however long, go and ask questions, try and make some friends perhaps, go to the Discord, go to some streams and ask questions, and don't be afraid of asking a question that you think might be a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There are plenty of people who I think have played the game for months and months and months, and then they find something out way down the line that they never knew, and then it just goes, oh my god, how did I not know this? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Try and make some friends, go and join streams and stuff and try and learn that way, because that's usually the best way. Because YouTube guides, although some of them are very good and some of them have been, a lot of effort's been put into them, some of them can be outdated, some of them can even have some misinformation, or just not really giving you all the information that you really need. But yeah, you can find those guides, run them by some streamers, or just go and ask in chat. People are typically very open and very willing to be helpful when it comes to newer players joining the game, because we want more players playing the game after all. So yeah, but other than that, I mean, I'd say that's pretty much it. That's the best initial advice I could give to a new player.
Okay, Nohara, do you want to give a shout out to anyone? Would you like to do something like that?
First, I want to give shoutouts to all my moderators on Twitch. I want to give shoutouts to Zatu, first of all. And I want to give a shout out to the Spiritual community for being super helpful in trying to get that game mode back with me together. And also, shout out to my friends from this Discord server and my supporters from Twitch and YouTube and TikTok. Everyone, thanks a lot. I love you all. And that's it for me. Tazatu, thanks for having me. And yeah, we should call it a day now before you go over to the next person.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure having you here, man.
Likewise.
Shout out to Zatu for having this whole interview, and I'm hoping. No, I'm joking.
That's
No,
crazy.
no.
That's crazy.
No, shout out to everyone in China for sure. They've all been so good to me. They deserve the world, man, and I'm very grateful to them. Thank you to everyone who believed in me and believes in me. Shout out to you guys too. All of KS, all my boys back home. I'll make you proud. I always will.
I mean, who do I give a shout out? I don't know. No one other than Mr. Blue Focus of EU, Creditor, my teammate for years. He can teach you guys the ways. He does stream on Twitch. Make sure to tune in. And yeah, this is gonna be my shout out.
Nobody shout out, bro. Fuck that guy, though. Okay.
Okay.
All right, shout out to BWG, all the boys, BWG's group that I'm a part of. Shout out to the Naraka themselves. They're doing a good job. They're working hard. The anniversary was definitely very cool and very it was very nice to get this new map, and there's more stuff on the horizon. They'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. You know, but shout out to you, my boy, ex-editor, the GOAT.
Hey, let's go.
Missed you, bro, but you're doing your own thing. I respect that, and I'm glad to be a part of this video. And thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for joining. It means a lot, seriously.
Of course, man.
I,
Very happy to do it.
I'd like to give a shout out to everyone I've met and become friends with over the past, 5 years and 2 days. Yeah, like, shout out to everyone, man. Shout out to Zatu, shout out to Nohara, AK, everyone. Literally everyone was there. There's too many people to name. Shout out to the Russian community. Shout out to, just everyone. Like,
yeah, I get you, bro. I get you. Okay.
Like, there's too many people to name, Like, shout out to everyone. Shout out to my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's about it, bro. It was a pleasure having you here, and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me, bro.
Anytime, bro.
Now let's quit the game.